Afternoon, this is the Board of Standards and Appeals Public Review Session for July 14, 2020, 2 p.m. session. There is no public testimony during this review session. Please do not call in. The first case to be discussed is 2018-137BZ, 251-77 Jericho Turnpike, Queens.
Okay. All right, so I will first read Chair Perlmutter's comments. Plans have been greatly improved and cleaned up. I really appreciate the key cloud bubble system that makes extremely clear what the changes are. Responses to DOT comments and the revised EAS were submitted to BSA by the applicant on June 24th. So we need to give DOT and DEP time to respond. DEP indicated that they want to see a wrap and chassis. We have confirmed several times that they understand that this building is already constructed. Ground disturbance would occur, however, in the drive-up area to access the parking garage, which has not yet been developed according to the photos. Applicant should verify this. Fire department had on 8/6/2019 submitted a letter objecting to daycare on the roof, and to the daycare's egress condition. Plan continues to show daycare on the roof, has FDNY signed off on that and on the means of egress from the daycare. I also don't see a sign on the plans to indicate that stair C goes to third floor only. I continue to be very skeptical about the daycare in this building, given all the potential for confusion and interaction between strangers and children. And setting aside the driveway condition, setting aside the driveway conditions and all of the conflicts that will present between those going to the parking garages and the parents dropping off kids. I note also that elevator B, which services the daycare, is the first one a person dropping at the valet in the parking garage will see. Everyone else, including gym goers and the medical office patients, will have to be directed by parking staff to either leave the building to go to the street or to walk around to the other elevator hidden behind elevator B. I guess that's elevator A she's referring to. Not to mention, the tenant circulation plan shows that everyone dropping off their car has to pass in front of or between cars moving into the pickup lane. It's a terrible plan.
Madam Vice Chair, you just, in one thing, you forgot to mention the note that the fire department in their January 28th letter of no objection refers only to the parking stacker review.
Thank you.
And then she talks about the daycare on the roof.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I think we still have open DOT comments. We just received a letter today from DOT. And DOT still has a lot of questions, a lot of data they're asking for and clarification with regards to trip generation and demographic analysis. There is open hazmat and the air quality and noise sign off I believe we received. I will let Ms. Benke weigh in on it and clarify those. Yes.
Yes, that's correct. We did receive the DOT comments today and open hazmat, and we also have the air quality and noise sign-offs.
Okay, great. So now I'll read my comments. With regards to the revised plans, I was satisfied overall with the plan, and I'm waiting for DOT comments. I just had one comment, and that is more of a clarification at my end with regards to elevator B at the parking garage. That is, will it be accessible only to the daycare tenant, daycare occupants, that is, and how will the access be given to parents or to the staff bringing their and accessing the garage from the, I'm sorry, please excuse me, let me start all over again. How will the access be given to parents bringing their children and staff from the parking garage instead of the outdoor drop-off area? And the reason for asking is that if somebody who is not affiliated with daycare, will they have access? My question is, will they have access to elevator B at all from the parking garage level? That's really the question I have. So that's all. I will now go to Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no questions on this case.
Commissioner Chetta.
Thank you. I agree that the drawings are in good shape. And however, I believe we're going to be waiting for DOT and DEP to finalize the review. And I have no further comments.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shibata.
I appreciate the chair's comments. And I wait to hear further from DOT and if fire department's going to make any further statement about the daycare.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next item is 2019-15 BZ, 7940 Cooper Avenue, Queens. Vice Chair, you are muted.
Oh, thank you. Okay, again, first, Chair Perlmutter's comments. A revised site plan was provided showing the treatment of the surfaces. It includes an aerial photo that indicates, as confirmed by a recent satellite view, that the buildings in question are not yet constructed. Since DOT is opposed to the driveway running alongside the building and we directed that the area be landscaped, why wouldn't the building plan be modified to make more use of the site while complying with rear and side yard regulation? Is the intention to open the driveway in the future? I think a trash enclosure next to the entrance to the daycare is still showing on the plan that is P003 and P003A drawing. P003A, which is supposed to be a landscape drawing, has no key to indicate which, how many, and where the planting type described in P003B are located. I know this is a review. I know this is review for a daycare center, but I'm focused on the former driveway not being used for access to the site as directed by DOT, and find the landscaping plan in the area very odd if the goal is to eliminate the driveway. Still haven't cleared up the questions about the perishable trash storage. There is an A designation in the pantry on the second floor, and the specification on P006A does not, but no calculation provided as requested to determine the size of receptacle needed. Are all limitations described in the EAS, including delivery hour limitations and closed window conditions shown on the drawings? I only see notes about deliveries. Then we still have open DOT questions. There was last response was sent to DOT on July 6th. And hazmat, I believe, is closed, and so is the air quality, and we have received the LPC sign off. We also have those school safety. It's not in the jurisdiction based on the size, but they did send the app, but the application was sent to DOT engineer, which triggered the DOT secret review. Ms. Benke, do you want to add anything, any update on the
That's
secret?
correct. We will be requesting further seeker notes to be put on the plans. However, we were holding off to see if DOT had more comments before that.
Okay. Okay. Now I'll read my comments. Applicant was based on the last hearing, I was of the understanding that the applicant was to provide a mathematical calculation for the proposed waste disposal cooler for a 12-hour day operation. And so far the documents do not have any such analysis provided. The manufacturer's spec shows V5-2, which is one of the container type, having a capacity of 1190 liter. It is the largest capacity in that line, but it is still not clear what is the appropriate capacity for the facility. And so it is very difficult for me to jump to the conclusion that V52 is the one that is going to be used, or will it be something else? It's definitely not clear. I still the other comment is waiting for the DOT. Those are my comments, and I agree with the Madam Chair's comment with regards to the landscaping. The way it has been laid out, it almost seems like there might be a possibility of future use of that driveway. I'm assuming, and I would like the applicant to clarify, is that would be only if the daycare operation ceases to exist and there's going to be another as of right operation, and for that, the drive would be required. That's a different matter. But as long as the daycare operation is there. Hello? Okay. So we would not want to see the driveway to be operated, and that should not be used as a driveway. And that's why we had very specifically asked for proper landscaping so that it remains as a landscape area, not a driveway area. Commissioner Otley Brown?
Yes, I was disappointed to not see the trash room or trash cooler specifications included in the documents, as well as an analysis of the capacity and the usage of this room based on the number of students and the number of meals, kind of like we've seen from another applicant who very nicely breaks it down based on Department of Sanitation standards of trash generation per person.
Agree with you. It's not like we have never seen something like that. So if the applicant needs a sample, maybe we could provide a sample to make it clearer as to what kind of analysis we're looking for. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you. The only thing I have is that they mentioned in their submission that they will be submitting a revised EAS. I'm not sure if this is submitted yet.
Ms. Benke.
I'll have to check that. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
All right, we will look into that. The applicant can also clarify. Thank you. Commissioner, any other comments, Commissioner Shetta?
No, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Shibeta?
I did not see a revised EAS, and I shared the other comments of my colleagues. I have nothing additional beyond that.
Okay, thank you.
Next case is 2019-171BZ 1610 Eastchester Road, the Bronx. This is only a review session. Please no calling in.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Where are the comments? 1 second. All right. So Chair Paul Mutter's comments, I will read them first. The site is now proposed to be subdivided into 2 zoning lots. I think it's 2 tax lots, as a result of removing the width of approximately 69 feet by 100 feet by 55 feet from the site. Maneuverability, is it more restrictive and makes it therefore more restrictive than it is before? Applicants should explain why they have chosen to make this modification. The westerly curb cut on Eastchester was removed. The pump count was reduced from 4 to 3, and the orientation is now proposed to be parallel to Williams Bridge. Access to the pump at the north looks like cars will be crashing into the planting area on a regular basis, and curb cut locations appears to encourage driving on the sidewalk distant from the curb cut to get to the pump. DOT is reviewing this. The crash enclosure area is proposed as requested to be inside the masonry building, but I do not see an elevation of that side with the gate. They are not to be chain link, but steel solid swing, and the area has to have a roof. Provide more information on this. The convenience store backs up to residential use. The entire area behind the store, behind the residential property line and building should be landscaped. Presently, it is filled with trash. And then with regards to SECRA, DOT revised plans and traffic study was sent to DOT on 6/25/2020. I don't know if that's the plan that was, so that is the revised plan that was sent, okay. After DOT issues comment, the last version of the EAS will need to be updated based on the most current plan. It also needs to correct the project name on the EAS and add reference number. Okay. My comments are extensive. So first of all, the applicant is proposing to split the zoning lot into 2 tax lots, and the modified subject tax lot, though the zoning resolution section 73211 is to the zoning lot, not to the tax lot, I believe. So the modified subject tax lot, even if that were to become a zoning lot, would meet finding A of section 73-211 in terms of the lot size. The cover letter did not provide a justification for the proposed revised layout. The 625 traffic analysis that was provided by the applicant indicates that the new side generated trip will have more vehicles entering and exiting the site to and from Eastchester Road. So why reorient the pump to Williamsbridge from Eastchester? Also, as I had stated my concern at the last hearing, there is a bus stop at the corner of the site on Williamsbridge Road. There are 3 bus lines that stop at this location. And based on some of the Google Street views, it shows there are 2 buses at the same time picking up and dropping off passengers. So it is a very well utilized bus stop with a lot of passengers utilizing it. And so I am concerned about the reorientation of the gas pickup towards Williamsbridge, which would greatly activate and require utilization of the curb cuts on Williamsbridge, more so than Eastchester Road, where they, according to the traffic study, that's where there will be more trips that will be generated and will be coming from. So by orienting the pump towards Williamsbridge, it will add to the conflict with pedestrian traffic, passengers waiting at the bus stop and the bus line. We had recommended shifting the island eastward and eliminating the 2 curb cuts closest to the intersection, one on Eastchester and the one along the Williamsbridge. Also, by allowing all vehicular access primarily from Williamsbridge Road, we may be removing the possibility of New York City Transit's ability to build a bus shelter in future or additional bus lines. Also, since the use on the next new tax lot will be as of right, I recommend that no parking be provided along that lot line. The 5 parking spaces that have been provided along the west of the convenience store, along the abutting commercial building. Actually, no, I am incorrect in that. Provides, based on the revised plan, the applicant is showing 5 parking spaces along the lot line between the new tax lot and the proposed. I'm recommending that those parking spaces be moved from there and be located on the west side, close to the convenience store, as it was in the original layout. And the trash enclosure can be located where currently proposed in a building and on the west side, but oriented more towards the Eastchester. The access will be from the Eastchester, not from the Williamsbridge side. And the handicap parking can be provided on the east side of the convenience store to make space for it. And if need be, they can even enlarge the curb cut on the Eastchester to allow for ingress and egress. Overall, my concern is they have reoriented the facility towards Williamsbridge. I think by keeping it on the Eastchester, by eliminating one of the bays, the orientation can still stay towards Eastchester and can still flow with primary access from Eastchester and with the secondary access from Williamsbridge, and at the same time with 2 curb cut elevations, that curb cuts eliminated as we had recommended at the last meeting. Okay. Commissioner Otley-Brown?
Yes, I'm happy to see that they did reduce the number of pumps from 4 to 3, but actually that's not what I was thinking of when I was asking them to rearrange their site plan. I thought they were going to shift everything east and not west. So I was surprised to see that they just changed the orientation and shifted everything west, which to me puts a lot of pressure on Eastchester, well, not Eastchester, on Williamsbridge Road, because that's where the bulk of the entries and the exits are probably going to take place. And it's close to the intersection, which could be problematic. And I thought also the chair's instructions were clear to make the trash enclosure part of the building. And it doesn't seem like it's part of the building. It seems like it's built into the back lot line in some way, shape, or form, but it's not really a full building. So those are my 2 comments.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Shetta?
Thank you, Vice Chair. I share the comments regarding the dumpster location, the trash enclosure location. In addition to that, I had a site visit last week, and the sidewalk along Eastchester, I saw 6 cars parking on the sidewalk next to the neighboring car repair shop. I'm not sure if this car repair facility belongs to them. My understanding, it's right next to the zoning lot that they are saying they're gonna develop as of right. But the 6 cars are parking on their sidewalk. So it appears like the guy for the shop next door is using their sidewalk for car repair. It's like his yard, actually.
Right. Well, that's what happens when you're not there and it's not being utilized. Someone else, without taking
Yep.
a permit, ends up misusing it. And so they need to be more mindful and watchful, even though they're not developing it. As a property owner, they need to ensure that the property is safe and is abiding by all the regulations. Thank you. Commissioner Shibeta?
Thank you, Vice Chair. The only thing, I agree with the comments made by my colleagues. The only thing I would add is that the day after our last hearing, we received an objection from a member of the community, and citing mostly debris and traffic issues. And I think these are the things that we're focusing most on. And I think we should pay attention to it because that's what the community is telling us.
Mm-hmm. There is something that I forgot to mention from my comment was with regards to the lumen. Though, I mean, we are looking at a plan which I don't think based on what I'm hearing from Commissioner Otley Brown and others, we definitely don't think this is a plan that we are at all satisfied with, and the layout has to change. And with that, of course, the layout of the lumen will change. But since the applicant is proposing to divide the site into 2 tax lots, and a new tax lot will be developed as of right, which can be a community facility or a manufacturing use, regardless of what use it will be, we need to make sure that the applicant is mindful that the lumen count must be 0 at the tax lot line, which the plan as shown currently does not show that. And that there should be a 6-foot high opaque fence that should be built between these 2 tax lots to make sure that there is no issues raised with the vehicular parking, light spreads, or any such thing. And as Chair Perlmutter had said, that there should be more dense buffering of landscaping behind the residential area. So there is an 8-foot gap between the building and the rear lot line, which abuts the commercial building and a residential building. And there should be a much more dense buffering, and which is also required as part of the zoning. So they should provide that, and we have not seen that detail on the landscape plan. Okay. Next.
Move on. Okay. New cases, item 2019-261BZ, 960 East 23rd Street, Brooklyn.
Okay. I'm reading Chair Perlmutter's comments. We have proof of service of initial application to officials and of notice of hearing to officials and neighbors. Committee board recommends approval. As a threshold matter, whatever the existing house is, drawing needs to show that at least 50% of the existing exterior walls of one of the existing house are being retained on the exterior along with the joists. The other house is being demolished. A house isn't existing until it is. So we need photographs of the existing condition and a survey. If the house renovations are not yet completed, sufficient to create floor area, then the application is premature. The set of drawings that isn't the existing condition upon which we should be basing our analysis should be voided, and the correct drawing date dated as of this submission. Otherwise, we can't keep them straight in our files. Whichever is the existing building, there is an enormous addition that overwhelms what does remain of the existing house, effectively obliterating it, but for those side walls and the bits of joists to be hidden on the interior. The proposal is to reduce the rear yard of the 67-foot wide house to 20 foot for the full height of the building. I'm surprised to see this proposal in light of the board's approval in recent years. The applicant should know that the board frowns on this type of imposition on the rear yard. We make the case for a rear yard. To make the case for the rear yard imposition, we need much more information about the depth of the adjoining rear yards and the height of the impositions on them. The survey shows the adjoining properties with the complying and deeper than proposed rear yards above first floor. The idea is not to overwhelm the neighbors with a house. One neighbor to the rear also reached out to the BSA, and I hope will give testimony at the hearing. Furthermore, this board does not have the authority to waive ZR 23-632 that requires setback from the rear yard line above the height of 30 feet. This setback should be measured from 30-foot required rear yard line. The FAR study shows that 4 other houses on the tax block and 3 houses on the social block have an FAR of approximately 1.0. The floor area study shows that no houses in the social block have an FAR of anywhere near 8,000 square feet, and that the largest house is 6,000 square feet. The area in the attic looks like floor area. Provide details on the heights of the areas, sections. What are the areas of the floor spaces in the attic? Storage space counts as floor area. So you need to be specific about which is mechanical space with height over 8 feet that is being excluded from floor area. The frontage study shows that the widest house not at the corner is 49 feet. This proposed house is 67 feet wide. Even the 70-foot wide lot has a wider side yard than the proposed here, which is 10 foot plus 11 foot versus 5 foot plus 8 foot. On the open space ratio study, clarify whether this is really an open space ratio calculation or lot coverage. What is the proposed OSR for this building? The lot coverage is shown in the drawing at 55%, and as of right, OSR is 150%. In short, how is this enormous enlargement justified in light of the neighborhood character consideration? Okay. First of all, with regards to the zoning, now onto my comments.
Do you want to read the council's comments?
Oh,
Stevie?
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Do you want me to read it? Do you want me to read it? Or
Can you?
read
My throat is parched. I can drink.
Okay, so there was an issue with the existing conditions and alteration plans. They had an issue about opening up. Applicant should provide square footage of the open space lot coverage based on the plans, verting the zoning chart and the square footage, a statement of facts, I'm sorry. No consistency between plans and zoning chart versus a chart versus the statement of facts. 8-foot side yard measurement does not measure to the bump out. Is the side yard 5'2" or 5'6.5"? Also, is the side yard measurement includes a bump out, which would further reduce its width?
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a general question with regards to the zoning chart. In the zoning chart, the column listing permitted should be either maximum or minimum permitted, or because in this case it says maximum permitted, and that's not the case with all the elements of the bulk. In some cases it's the minimum required, some cases it's the maximum required, and I don't think by saying maximum we're confusing it. So the chart should just say minimum or maximum, minimum/maximum permitted, or just say permitted, and then with each section refer it as minimum permitted or maximum permitted for clarity. Now, on to the application itself. Though in R2, the structural, okay. So I have overall concern with this project, and specifically my first comment is with regards to with the building itself. The height of the building to the north of the subject site is out of context from the predominant building height along this block. The building height is similar to that of the predominant building height is similar to those buildings that are located to the south of the site. Typically, the building heights are 35 feet or 33 feet. At a minimum, the roof line along the southern lot line should be lowered. The roof can spring from 6 foot height from the second floor, providing enough clearance over the closet area, which is on that section of the second floor. This will lower the overall height of the building, eliminate the need to fill it with a grand staircase. If there is concern about the loss of storage area in the attic, it can be recouped by using the area used for the central grand staircase. It may result in a different roof line. However, since the applicant is rebuilding the southern portion and the entire roof line from scratch, structurally, it should not be an issue. Similarly, the rear yard depth on the second floor should be increased from 20 feet in such cases where large lots are being combined to make larger zoning lots. Though the social block does not maintain a uniform 30-foot rear yard, instead has a more of a 20 to 25-foot depth rear yards on the second floor, it does not mean that this should be allowed in this case. Even enlargements in smaller lots, we have required a setback from 20-foot rear yard on the second floor. In this case, the size and the scale of the building matters. A continuous facade that is over 66 foot long, located only 20 feet away from a rear lot line is a neighborhood context issue. And there is excess circulation place also within the second floor and on the attic floor. Going back to the attic floor specifically, though in the R2 zoning district, a structural headroom of 8 foot or more is counted in floor area, the proposed attic will be mostly 7 foot 11 inches, just 1 inch shy of being 8 feet and therefore being counted towards floor area. And the proposed height in storage and the mechanical space is 10 feet 6 inches. This is very generous and not necessary for an area used only for storage purposes that has a floor plate of 50 feet by 65 feet. Since the attic will be used only for non-habitable space storage and mechanical use, not sure why the central grand staircase has to lead to the attic along with an elevator access. The secondary stair on the north side can provide that access to the storage area in the attic and can eliminate the grand staircase. With regards to the front yard, the as of right enlargement to 15 feet that is proposed to be underway on the north side, or is not consistent with what the analysis have shown the applicant has provided. All the buildings that are fronting on 23rd Street maintain a 16 foot or more of front yard depth. And I think the applicant in this case can articulate it by setting the portion of the building further back in certain areas and allow for more of a depth that matches the neighborhood context. So those are my comments. Commissioner Otley-Brown?
Yes, I agree that this house is huge. It's like one big mass with no articulations in the facade that might kind of minimize its appearance. So it just looks massive. And I don't think there is anything on this block that looks that massive. And then when I went on my field visit, I noticed that they were in progress with the renovation or the alteration by breaking that front wall out. And it hasn't been reconstructed yet, which leads me to wonder whether or not this is a premature application, because how are we going to be sure that they're going to build the as of right so that they can jump off of the as of right plans to the proposed and retain the percentage of walls that's necessary so that it's actually an enlargement and not a new building? And so I don't know how we would be able to ensure that they're going to build up that front wall where it is, so then that could be considered like an existing wall. Mm-hmm. But you know, we'll have to see what the applicant says.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I agree regarding the size of the house and the prematurity of the application based on the construction status on site. In addition to that, I saw that you, Vice Chair, mentioned that you want to limit the access through the main stairs and the elevator to the attic. I would even go further and ask them to take the height, probably by like 6 or even 11 inches. 7 feet 11 inches, kind of, it's just, it's practically it's 8 feet. If 1 inch is not gonna make much difference, but to make sure that it's gonna be for storage and not something else, I would ask for like reduction below the 8 feet limit.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Shibata.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I don't want to be repetitive, but I do feel compelled to mention that there is a serious neighborhood context issue here. And some of that, but not all of it, is certainly driven by the height, the excessive height in the alleged storage mechanical. I don't know if this is just, the first ask and then to try to whittle it down, but I think something, when this applicant's ready to provide a serious ask, that'd be something we should entertain. I don't think at this point, I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done on this application.
Agree. This application is premature from that point of view. And I think I also am concerned about the fact that they have an approval to do an as of right alteration, but that is definitely not along. And as Commissioner Otley Brown mentioned, and so did Chair, like, how do we make sure that it's going to be, it's like you do halfway, wait for the approval and you build it out, but then what are we approving? Are we approving, what is our baseline? We need to know the baseline. And as of now, from what Commissioner Otley Brown is saying, the baseline still should be what is the existing, not what has been approved, because it has not been built.
I agree with that statement of Commissioner Otley Brown. I also, the counsel of this applicant has provided, has been before the board several times, and she generally provides a more extensive streetscape view instead of just the two houses to the side. I'd like to see what their proposal is with regard to the surrounding community, both with streetscape view and aerial view.
Okay.
As she does in several applications in the past.
Okay, that's a good call. Yeah, thank you.
Next application is 2019-191BZ, 1485 East 21st Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, reading Chair Perlmutter's comments. We have proof of service of initial application to officials, have proof of notice of hearing to officials and neighbors for this teleconference hearing. Community board recommends approval with 3 abstentions. We have 1 letter of support. Retention of at least 50% of the existing exterior walls on the exterior and at least 50% of the exterior floor joists is demonstrated in the drawings. However, photos show that construction was taking place on the site in mid-2019, and a ZD1 on BIS shows that the first floor was being extended and a partial second floor enlargement. What is the status of the house today? Is it still standing? Are existing conditions still as illustrated? Provide the current photos. The dimensions of walls to be retained on the proposed drawings should match those shown on the existing and demolition drawings. By contrast to the last application, this proposed house, though also large and on a large lot, respectfully retains complying rear and generous side and front yards, and reasonably counts all of the attic spaces as floor area. So the massiveness of the house is mitigated by the amount of open space around it and an FAR that is both significantly less than 1 FAR and reflects the actual building mass. Based on the FAR study, 6 houses on the tax blocks have FARs in line with or greater than the proposed. Only one other house in the study area has a lot size of equivalent width, actually wider, and it has a more floor area than is being requested here. On the OSR study, clarify whether the figures are actual OSR calculations or lot coverage. Due to the generous yard area, however, the lot coverage OSR for this proposal is less than what we often see presented in these applications. I'm okay with this application and appreciate the respect of the neighbors and neighborhood with which the architect and the architect has designed the project. Additional comments from our deputy counsel. No consistency between statement of findings versus zoning chart. See, for example, the side yard depths and the missing rear yard. The application is also missing a rear yard study. Okay.
Okay.
On to my comments. I actually, again, in my review of the thing, I thought the application was very thoughtful in its enlargement and in placing the bulk, and the request seemed very reasonable to me and the neighborhood context. It was very much respectful of the neighborhood context. So I was okay with the application. Commissioner Otley Brown?
Yeah, I definitely think that this is the better of the two applications that are on the afternoon calendar. But I have one question, because there are those as of right plans, and they're actually on the construction fence in front of the house, and they have a half second floor, but it was hard for me to see the details of the depth of the house. And so my question is, does this construction impact any of the walls that are going to be considered to be retained in the application? So they should just address that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sheta?
Thank you. I have no further comments on this.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shibata?
Thank you, Vice Chair. I think that the ask is reasonable. I think that the applicant has to address the issues discovered by council with regard to inconsistencies. And I did not see what Commissioner Otley Brown saw with regard to a second floor at their as of right plans. And I'm curious to see what
they're actually on the construction fence at the site.
I see.
So you know how like it conceptualizes what's going to be here, and it has the first floor and cellar and half of the second floor, which is what Vice Chair was actually referring to in her comments.
I see.
You saw it on Biz though.
I have nothing further based on that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So this concludes the public review session for July 14th, 2020, 2 p.m. session. We will now commence with the public hearing, July 14th, 2020, 2 p.m. Only call in during your application. The first case is 2018-137BZ, 251-77 Jericho Turnpike, Queens. The applicant is Eric Palatwick office. So we should be at least full there, I think.
Is anybody joining in?
We're still waiting.
I just texted her. Just email her. Somebody mute, there's too much background noise.
Is she calling in with the telephone?
I'm texting her now again. We are waiting. She's trying to get in. Eric is trying to get in. I think Eric is the one that's coming in. He's trying to get in.
Does he say what the last digits of the phone number are?
Okay. What's that noise?
Tony, do we have any information about, okay.
I texted him. Oh, he's there?
Your telephone number, so we don't know. Please state your name, telephone ending in 831.
I may be losing connection.
Please state your name.
Looking for Eric's number.
Hold on, I think I'm being let in. Hello?
All right, my connection is unstable, so I may bounce out.
Derek, how are you?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Eric.
Wow. Sorry about all the headache there with getting in there. I don't know why I wasn't able to get in.
Okay, is anyone joining you?
Yeah, there should be, our whole team should be on the call. You should have Zachary should be on the phone, and Philip Habib's office should be on the phone.
Do you have their
Do
numbers?
you not see them?
There are 12 people in the waiting room, but
Do you have their numbers?
a couple phone
I
numbers.
see everybody is saying, do I have the wrong link? I have a whole bunch of emails going back and forth right now.
Okay, so we're admitting 11 people right now.
Wow. Okay.
Guys, I need the phone. I gotta hang up.
Go ahead, Eric. Let me send you one. Go ahead, Eric.
Hey, it's Eric.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Everyone who just joined, if you're not here for the, Tony, what's the application number?
Sure. If you're not here for the Jericho Turnpike 2018-137BZ, please hang up.
And please make sure to turn off your YouTube video.
Okay, we all ready?
I just want to make sure that everybody, somebody needs to mute.
Okay, is everyone on? Eric?
Hello, can you see me? Should be able to see me
Okay.
and hear me.
Okay, we see you and hear you. Is everybody on your team here?
It's a very difficult question for me to figure out.
I have A.B.
I'm lucky
Capstone.
enough I'm here.
I have A.B. Capstone, Andrew Valari, Angela Keller, Philip's iPad, Camilla Bannister. Are those part of your team?
That's it. You got everybody, it sounds like.
Okay.
And I think Dina should be on the phone of, I don't know if Dina's name comes up there.
Dina is here.
Oh, great.
Okay.
And I believe Umesh too.
Okay, good. All right, great. Thanks for facilitating everybody getting in.
Okay, should we proceed?
Whenever you're ready.
Everyone needs to be sworn in.
Yeah, Madam.
We're ready?
Yep.
Okay, so I have to swear everyone in. So raise your right hands. Do you affirm to, please unmute yourselves. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Palatwick, proceed. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Eric Palatwick, and it's a pleasure to see everybody. I don't think I've appeared on a Zoom call in about 3 or 4 months. And thank you for making the time to review this application. Of course, as our children are getting ready for the fall, and we have an educational institution, we've got a healthcare institution, and we've got a great gym, which are all suffering under really tragic times, unfortunately. With that as the backdrop, and as our world's changed since I've seen everybody on this call last time, and there's been a catastrophic shift, we were thrilled to hear the review session. And I got to say, as a practitioner, it's incredibly stressful the way it's set up. I can't believe Elise has been, and all the other practitioners have really been doing it, hearing the comments so quickly and then responding. There were a lot of comments, and I think we got the gist of it. And a lot of it had to do with the access to the parking garage. And I think Dina can explain the access to the parking garage from elevator B and how that works. But I think that the bigger reason what we're on the phone for with you right now is we could explain it, and people might like it, they might not like it, but DOT has a say in what goes on right now. And part of your conversation, which you're also knowledgeable on everything. I mean, I listened to your whole review session. It's unbelievable how much knowledge you've got. You didn't get this DOT letter that came in that your great staff member, Ms. Prengla, sent over just before the hearing. And DOT made a comment that they weren't so happy necessarily with one of the mitigation measures that we were utilizing. So the reason why Philip Habib is on the phone, and for those of you who don't know Philip Habib, he's the principal of Philip Habib Associates. He's creative like Eric Palatwick PC, but he's more importantly extremely knowledgeable. And what he's about to tell you, and we're about to ask of you as we proceed, is to engage in a discussion with us. The discussion is one of, I prefaced everything with what's going on in the world today, which you got to be ignorant or have your head in the sand if you don't recognize it's not the same time you saw me last time. My clients are not the same. None of us are the same. And on this particular matter, what happened with Department of Transportation last time, I'll give you the backdrop, is they issued a letter today stating they don't like the mitigation measure of removing a traffic lane on the sides on Little Neck at the traffic light. And what that does is that puts us over the threshold so that we can't get their sign off. Now, the reason we're there is because they asked us from an analytical perspective to do our baseline analysis from a zero action perspective. Instead of doing an incremental difference between what's allowed to be there. For example, I could build a 7-Eleven there. I could take the building there, it's making a medical office. I could build a self-storage building there. Instead of doing that, they had us look at the site as if it was vacant. And then Phil did an analysis of that. And then that showed how many vehicular trips there were. And of course, he blew the doors off of any analysis. And the reason they had him do it that way is because there's a school involved. And DOT requires that as a part of a school analysis because they really want to understand the pedestrian impacts and the movement of cars around students. Here, we're kind of getting caught up in two different methodologies of analysis. So the reason I'm bringing this up is regardless of what goes on with you today in this conversation, we can't open up a daycare center that's perched to open in New York City at a time that I got my wife frantic and every other family I know frantic and every working mother and father in the city frantic about finding, I mean, our client was involved in getting the mayor to hopefully sign the order in phase 4 that open daycares back up. He petitioned for that. And that's a client that's got a daycare center. So we're actually asking to team up with the board right now, if you could believe this. We'll answer the questions about who gets into the building and how they get there. But the deeper problem we're having is we can't get through the DOT side of it. So Phil is on the phone to more eloquently explain what's going on with DOT. And Dina is on the phone. And Dina, I'd like for you to explain, the vice chair had a question during the review session about how people access through the garage, staff and parents, and specifically access to elevator B. And those are the main comments I heard. So maybe start with maybe Dina because that's maybe the easiest answer to give, because that's just a physical is what it is. But I think the tougher question is, how can we all team up to take a building that's the owner's really done a bang up job, I think, whether you like it or not, of adding more layout to it, of burrowing under the site to create more parking. And now, who would have thought 2 years ago when I brought this application, that all of a sudden that daycares are an essential service in our entire existence of having our workforce go back to work in the fall hinges upon the children being in school, and that people would be fighting about it, whether or not it's the right thing to do. So with that as the backdrop and the passion that I'm bringing to the conversation these days, Phil is on the phone and Dina. So Dina, can you explain the parking garage access for the staff and the parents to elevator B from the parking garage and how that would work?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Yes.
Okay. So elevator B is a dedicated elevator for the daycare only. On the cellar level plan, you access it from the tenant access plan located next to the valet attended drop-off via the green path, tenant access path. Then we go to the first floor where daycare has a small number of classrooms for infants only, and there's a stop on the first floor. Then elevator B skips the second floor and it goes right to the third floor where we have the full daycare center for the toddlers, etc. And we go then onward through the fourth floor up to the rooftop playground area that is accessed only by the daycare tenants through elevator B into an elevator vestibule and then to the daycare outdoor space.
Okay, I thank you. Though our question was more, and I think this was a question and concern both Chair Perlmutter raised and I had raised, which was more of trying to understand. I mean, you have the outdoor space, which is for the parents to drop their car and pick up their and drop off the kids. This is an extra space where those parents who couldn't find parking on the outdoor at grade level will be parking here, and probably the staff, they will be parking here. So the question is the mechanics. Just walk me through it. I
Okay.
as a who is going to go to the daycare, when I go to the elevator B, it clearly says, okay, it's only for daycare elevator.
Okay.
How do I,
All right.
how is a person who's not affiliated with daycare will be told, no, you cannot use the elevator? If I'm not affiliated with daycare and let's say I'm going to the PC, but I press that button, will the door open and will it let me then get to the floors 1, 3 and roof?
They're all key card access only. And that's for the elevator. To get into the building, there's also five dedicated spots on the ground floor level for daycare only parking that is highlighted on BSA-009.1. And we've provided an access sidewalk, crosswalk, and delineation posts, otherwise known as bollards, signage, and daycare entry only into a vestibule, and then they are allowed in. They go through a reception area and are escorted to the elevator.
So, if I do not have a key card, then I cannot enter the elevator. I cannot enter elevator B at the parking level from the parking level.
Well,
is that what you're saying?
There's an intercom. Sorry, this is Zach from the owner, AB Capstone. There's also a security plan, which we revised and resubmitted with this submission. And on that plan, we detail the intercom that a patron could use to contact the front desk at the daycare to be let in to use the elevator, as well as the security cameras, which would watch every step of theirs as they use the elevator and come out to the lobby.
Okay, so basically anybody who wants to get into the daycare will first have to go to the intercom, and if the intercom gives permission, then only the door will open and that person will be able to go in, and that would be mechanism to make sure only daycare related people will be able to enter the elevator and therefore to the rest of the building.
Yes.
Okay. Now, with regards to, I think the concern still is how do you reduce the conflict? That was Madam Chair's concern, because elevator B is what everybody will see, and not elevator A, which is for the rest of the tenants to access. And that was one of her concern is when I'm parking my car, or when after I put my car in the stop here sign, the first elevator I see is for the daycare. And how do they know that that is not the elevator to be used, and the office and retail elevator is for the back? And that signage, if it's going to be posted onto the side, will that be visible even?
Yeah, of course. I mean, is the question, how are people going to know which elevator to go into? Yeah, there'll be crystal clear signage. I mean, we want people to go to the right place.
Yeah. There is signage on the security plan as well. Additionally, the tenant access path, which is called out, which it serves two functions. One is to ensure that anyone using the garage stay within the areas that are safe for the general public and not wander off into where the valet is operating. But it also would, on the floor, kind of lead people around to the other side of the elevator visually. So that plus the signage and having a valet there would help guide them.
Okay, so I think just what I would prefer is the sign saying daycare elevator for daycare only, so that no one mistaken is that they can use that and get off at the other levels.
We can do that.
And you have one sign that is going to be facing the wall that is not going to be directly visible from someone parks it. So I think you should have two parking signs, two signs, one where you're proposing and the other one over the daycare elevator saying for office and retail use, point the arrow so that they know they have to use elevator A or whatever you want to call it. So that they have more clarity on it and less of an interface, and reduce the amount of interface between those who are going to the daycare and those who are going to the office.
Okay, so we'll dictate for office, retail, etc., use elevator A and directional arrow.
You're right, and make that elevator B just say daycare elevator only, so that nobody mistakes it to be used for
Daycare
other.
elevator. We'll add the text only on the sign. Okay.
There was another question Chair Perlmutter have, and that was with regards to fire department clearance. Was there a sign off with regards to the rooftop use? Is this a good time to ask that question?
Probably. Zach, did they look at the rooftop of the fire department when they were at the cellar?
We have two separate approvals. One is for the rooftop variance. The other was for the cellar. So we got the rooftop a while back.
Okay. Was any letter provided from fire department? Maybe fire department can speak to that also. Is Chief Daly?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair. The fire department, I think it was the rooftop back and the parking stacking in the cellar. And copies were submitted back in, I believe it was October.
Okay. Chief Daly, you're breaking up. So am I to assume you're saying that fire department signed off on the rooftop also?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So let's get on to the traffic. I think we have responded to some of the questions. I mean, others you will need to respond by writing, but let's hear about the traffic issue.
All right. Thank you. Philip Habib is here, so I think he's really the star of the traffic show, and he could speak much more clearly than I can. So, Phil?
Okay. Hi, I'm still here.
There you go.
So that's fine.
Phil,
So
you're like in a Batman episode, Phil. You're on like an angle.
Please state your name for the record, Mr. Habib,
Okay.
although I know who you are.
Philip Habib, for the record. So as you know, we prepared the transportation study. It was fairly straightforward, but DOT came back, has, I guess, over the last 9 months or so, a year, as Eric indicated, they do not allow, when you're doing a school or community facility like a daycare, to have any no action condition at all. And so your analysis assumes that whatever space that you're using for this particular element is empty. And so that's one of the nuances. So in our analysis, we do have a decent amount of cars that come in and out because we are like almost at the edge of the city here in Nassau County. And much of the daycare are dropped off by their parents on the way to work, picked up on the way back from work. And because of the location of our site on Littleton Parkway, it's right turn into the site, right turn out to the site. So most of our traffic ends up going down to the south. So we ended up with an impact at the intersection, and we proposed mitigation that basically removes some parking, which between our driveway, essentially, and the intersection, which is probably the equivalent of about 4 parking spaces. DOT indicated that they would not accept that mitigation. So there's the situation, the 2-strike situation. One is that there is no action condition, you know, that in the absence of this, something else would be done, 1. And 2, that, all right, given that you have an impact as a consequence, but you can't mitigate it. We won't permit the mitigation. And so right now there is this parallel problem where we have daycare, which parents need to drop off because they're at the edge of New York City. 70-something% of them are going to be dropped off by car. It's not to walk from home and a lot of that. And that, and there's no action condition, as Eric indicated. So it's independent of that. And we had an impact in the evening when they come in after work, pick up the kids, and they have to head south towards Jericho Turnpike. At that intersection, we had an impact. We proposed just removing, I think, about 4 parking spaces from our curb cut to the intersection, and DOT rejected that mitigation. And so this is our current status as to, you know, the next step to coordinate, to get back to DOT and try to argue a little bit about this, just as a record, not the secret record, just a general record. The curbside regulation is 2-hour parking at the meter. And if you go out there at the edge of the world, at the edge of New York, nobody even uses it as parking because they have to pay. So it's almost like taking, you know, the travel lane that is theoretically parking and turn it into a functional lane to improve traffic flow and make more easily feasible the egress from our project. Okay, so that's basically the main issue. The other comments that DOT have, I think, would be fine to deal with. This is one where they're combining the no action condition with you can't mitigate your impact. Tricky. And so that's sort of my overview.
So, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, where this is leaving us, as he just said, is he's very polite because Phil is a lot more understated than myself. He said he has to argue with DOT. Really what he's saying is if he can't get DOT to understand what he's saying, which is that having him start and analyze the property as if it's vacant land and then provide the numbers with what we're proposing and saying it triggers a threshold is not really an accurate real world analysis, because the reality is it's a C8 zone and we all know well and good that a 7-Eleven could be built there or the building itself could be converted to an as of right use right now, and that should be the baseline. And if Phil compared the baseline of what's allowed to be built with what we're asking permission to do, that wouldn't trigger the threshold that we're trying to mitigate. And we went along with that analysis with DOT because that's what they said to do, and they have their systems, and we didn't want to cause, he didn't want to argue, because Phil is like me, is not like me. Phil's not a lawyer. He just water off the back of a duck. But now it's we've all done it everybody's different way, and we're hoping that the four of you who have great understanding of methodologies are taking note of what we're saying, and maybe there's a way that we could all broker a discussion with Department of Transportation, emphasizing the importance of a health-related, educational-related facility right now. I heard all of the comments of the board had before this. We've addressed a lot of them. We've addressed a lot of comments of the community board. They're very vocal. I'm on the phone with Richard Hellenbrecht, district manager, and Mark McMillan of Community Board 13 all the time. They're very vocal when they need to be, and I think we've gotten everybody comfortable with what we're doing. We've burrowed under the whole place at great expense, and we should have, but we're happy to be here. But we're in a tough place in New York City. It's not easy. So that's our sketch. That's our ask of the board's environmental division.
As you know, the board reviews a lot of school cases, and we do have DOT review them. So there has to be consistency in the manner in which DOT reviews all of these school cases. And I would like, if Ms. Benke is here, to kind of let me know, I think in the how have some of the recent school cases been addressed? They've also been is the analysis also based on no action for all the other schools that we have reviewed?
Hi, I can answer that. Yeah. It's been DOT's stance for some time, at least a year, on BSA projects not to allow the no action credits for schools or daycare facilities. When asked about this, they've said it's because these uses involve a number of trips and activities that involve children, and the full project, not just the increment, must be assessed, including pedestrian elements posing safety concerns. So these numbers affect, for example, uncontrolled crossings, intersections with high numbers of vehicular and pedestrian crashes, etc., along walking routes to and from school. So yes, this has been the trend. We've had a number of calls on, it's affected other cases, and in each situation, DOT has worked with us to try and come up with mitigation that works under this no action scenario, if possible.
Thank you, Ms. Benke. And I think based on what we are all hearing, we have to have a consistent process, and much of our findings for this is with regards to school safety. So we do rely on DOT to give us the level of comfort they have. And so far, the reason they have picked the no action, as Ms. Benke pointed out, was to ensure that the pedestrian conflicts and vehicular conflict is minimized. And so I am not comfortable at this point to recommend that we ask DOT to make any change just for this case, because this is a policy that DOT has been applying consistently.
And we're not asking you. We're not asking you to ask them to make any change. We're asking that we can get on a conference call with Tracy and DOT and have a conversation with everybody on the same page, because just hear me out, and thank you for engaging the intellectual conversation that's here, because you hear that your seeker examiner is telling you, she's clearly saying that other people have had the same issues. So it is a real world problem. Maybe we're just at the extreme edge where we're getting caught, but where we're different, as you heard everybody say, it's got a pedestrian component. And as you heard Phil say, we're on the edge of New York, where it's more car oriented. That's what the whole discussion has been about. So it needs a little bit more maybe of a fine-tuned look, because it doesn't have the same interaction of cars and pedestrians that it would if it was in the middle of Williamsburg on Bedford Avenue in Williamsburg, or on Union. You understand? Phil, am I saying that right?
Yes, very few kids get dropped off. Almost like 2%, very small.
Okay, so I think that's reasonable of an argument. This is not a typical site that we see that is in the middle of the city with a lot more pedestrian traffic. And I'm okay with our staff getting on a call with you and DOT to explain
Great, thank you.
Of it. That's fine. I would also go one step further. The recommendation, the mitigation that you're proposing, did you run that by the community board? And will the community board be okay with the elimination of those parking spaces and be and turn that lane into an only driving lane? I mean, when I went to the site, I did see the signs there, but it seemed too close to an intersection which is so busy that you would think that should be only a driving lane and not a parking lane. But
Correct.
but if you have the support of the community board on that also, that may help your argument. That's a discussion that you need to have with the
I'll bring
community
it to
board,
them.
and
I'll ask them.
may also give comfort to DOT.
I'll ask them. I'm happy to talk to Richard about it and Mr. Hellenbrecht, excuse me, and speak to him and ask him if he could talk to his board members and see.
We have reviewed many cases where DOT has been very involved with very complex set of mitigation measures for schools, not just daycares. So I think there is a solution. You just needs to be worked through, and if having a conversation with our staff with DOT helps, yes, go ahead.
Thank you.
However,
Thank you for helping to facilitate that. We all appreciate it. We're not asking to change anything, just facilitate. Thank you.
Right. However, as you heard me read Chair Perlmutter's comments, I mean, she still is not very happy with the plan itself, and in terms of the overall conflict, this location of the school and all the various possible nodes of overlap with other uses, and therefore questioning the safety. So you do still need to respond to Chair Perlmutter's comments thoroughly.
We will. We'll address each one. We'll address each one item by item.
Okay. I want to. I don't want to hog too much of my of the time. Do other commissioners have questions? I'm here seeing a nod. I don't see Commissioner Shibata. Okay, you're okay? Do you have? Okay. All right. So I think we would need to have another set of hearing. We need, of course, sign up from DOT, DEP, all of that. We cannot close it. And so all of those need to get resolved, and another hearing date will be set. And but you need the public to wait. Do we have some? We have? I believe there were some people who wanted to speak.
Yeah. Okay. So this is 2018-137 BZ 254-77 Jericho Turnpike, Queens. Is there any members of the public? I don't know.
I'm telling you, I'm thrilled. We've been working with them for a while. I think we got everybody comfortable.
Okay.
I think.
Madam Vice Chair, also, if we don't have that fire department letter that that Chief Daly spoke about, we should have that submitted in October letter. I didn't think we had that, yeah.
Right. We should have it in file.
If they're agreeing to everything, then we should have that signed off. Okay. No comments?
We don't
expecting people to call in.
Yeah. Was someone supposed to call in on this one?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know if Gemma has.
Okay.
No, sorry. It's another case, not this one.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think we have waited enough time for public to. So we will set another hearing date and keep our project manager posted of the status on the hearing discussions on the DOT.
How much time do you need for submission?
We'll be ready at the next available date.
Yeah.
That's not helpful. How much time? How much time? 2 weeks, 4 weeks?
I mean, you do need to resolve the DOT issues, and until DOT sign off is there,
right. So how about 4 weeks seems fair. We could probably hustle and get some communications together with people in 4 weeks. I think 2 weeks is rushing it, but 4 weeks is fair.
All right, we'll see.
I have a scheduled trip to Europe, but I'm gonna cancel it if you set something up.
I think you will be wise not to travel anywhere.
Okay. Thank you.
DOT.
Thank you very much, everybody. You all look
I'm sorry.
great.
I'm sorry, Ms. Spanky.
No, I was just gonna say DOT would also have to review and all the submission to that comment letter today that was received today. So that would take some time as well. So
Okay.
it might be longer than 4 weeks.
Okay. So please factor that in and set a time, because we have heard this quite a bit, so it would not make sense to have repetitive hearings. So maybe best is push it out as much and get all this.
Okay.
But we'll try to schedule the calls as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your attendance. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You all look great. Nice to see everybody.
You too. Nice to see everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next item is 2019-15BZ, 7940 Cooper Avenue, Queens. This is the office of Ackerman, Frank St. Jacques.
He is being admitted and connecting to audio.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Please state your name when you can hear us.
Hi, Frank St. Jacques, Ackerman LLP for the applicant.
Okay, you're the only one appearing, Frank?
There should be at least one other member of the project team, James Coakley. The last 4 digits of his telephone number, if he's not appearing by Zoom, are 0216.
Okay, we'll wait for him. Thank you.
Great. I just sent him a message just as I was joining to have him go ahead and dial in.
He's joining now. Mr.
Okay.
Please state your name.
Mr. Coakley, do you hear us?
I do, James Coakley.
Okay, let me swear you both in. Do you affirm to tell the truth? Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
I do.
Please proceed, Mr. Frank St. Jacques.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, Frank St. Jacques, Ackerman LLP for the applicant. We heard the board's comments at. We heard the board's comments at the review session, and we'll go ahead and just try and address some of those at this hearing. I will note, as the commissioners have noted, that we are still waiting for DOT comments, and we'll speak to those briefly after we discuss the non-DOT comments. One of the things we heard at the review session was with respect to what was previously the driveway and the site plan. There was an egress driveway that's been removed, I think, across several iterations of the plans based on concerns raised by both the BSA and the DOT. The applicant understood those to be concerns and has removed this egress driveway. Excuse me. With respect to the landscaping, it is keyed to on the plans. There's a key on P003, which refers to the detail and schedule of plantings shown on P003B. There's about 270 deciduous shrubs and 298 evergreens, and then there's ground cover in the middle, and that's shown, we thought, clearly on the plans. We can certainly try and highlight that a little bit more. It's actually shown, that key is on the site plan. It's not on the site plan details. So, we can obviously add it there just for consistency. And to address the comments regarding concern about whether or not that space would actually be used as a driveway, I'd like to, state for the record that there is no plan to use that space for an egress driveway. It's been removed from the plans and will be landscaped. I'll note that there's no curb cut onto Cooper Avenue. So, any attempt to use it for a driveway would run into a very significant problem, being that there's no curb cut existing or otherwise on Cooper. So to the degree that we can provide comfort that although there was previously, there is now no plan at all to use that as a driveway. We'd like to do so. I'll just go through the comments, and obviously if you have questions, feel free to jump in. We had removed an indication that there would be a trash enclosure at the entrance to the daycare. It looks like there's still an outline shown on the plans that was potentially confusing. We can remove that from, I believe that's B003 and B003A.
Yes.
But there's absolutely no plan to have any sort of trash enclosure at the daycare entrance. The trash enclosure is indicated with a numeral 3, and it's in the sort of the corner of the parking lot adjacent to where the self-storage facility is on the same zoning lot, really isolated from not only from the daycare use, but very far from any of the residential use that's located to the east of the site within the adjacent residential zoning district. I guess that's a good segue just to really talk about trash. We submitted a letter, we received a letter and provided it to the project manager yesterday. It is not submitted into the record, and I don't believe it's been circulated to the board yet. We will submit that formally in anticipation of the next hearing. But it's a letter from the daycare operator, Children of America, indicating that not only is the stroller storage in the proposed facility going to be sufficient based on their anticipated need. They have 2 locations in Queens presently, in Jackson Heights and Queens Village, which are sort of similar in scale and the urban setting in which they're located. So this letter describes that the stroller storage is sufficient based on their experience with those 2 locations and their experience nationally, as well as the proposed refrigerated trash storage. I will clarify that the capacity for the refrigerated trash storage is essentially 2 65-gallon trash cans. They're wheelie bins that fit into a refrigerated enclosure. Children of America indicates that based on the food waste generated at their other Queens facilities and nationally, and the type of food service program that they use, that these 2 65-gallon trash enclosures will be sufficient for their refrigerated trash needs. They do note that this is not something that they've ever provided in other schools nationwide or in the 2 Queens locations. And I guess I will go on to say that the reason that our office did not provide a breakdown or a calculation for the refrigerated trash, we looked at a sample that was provided, prepared by another practitioner that relies on a Minnesota Pollution Control Agency study from 2010, which uses 2 elementary schools, a middle school, a junior high school, and 2 high schools in both urban and suburban areas for its study group in deriving the anticipated trash usage. We found that this study seemed to be not only dated, as it's over 10 years old, but also not really germane to Children of America's experience or the experience in New York City. I'll note that there's not really any guidelines for New York State or New York City related to refrigerated trash. In contrast, the New York City Schools Guide to Zero Waste from the New York City Department of Education and the New York City Department of Sanitation from 2017 doesn't really, it does not mention refrigerated trash storage. And it actually discusses the promotion of recyclables and curtailing trash. I will note that schools also participate in organics composting in connection with the Department of Sanitation. So it's something that really isn't contemplated in any other setting besides these 7319 and I guess variance applications by the BSA, which is why we asked our client, Children of America, who has daycare locations throughout the nation and also several in Queens, to use their experience in determining what the capacity should be. And that's how they arrived at this 265-gallon wheelie bin capacity. Also, just say one last thing with respect to trash. Children of America is actually the same daycare operator as the application that was just heard regarding Jericho Turnpike. In discussing the BSA's request that refrigerated trash be provided at this location on Cooper Avenue, they mentioned to us that they are not being asked to provide refrigerated trash storage on Jericho. I don't know that that's the case. I'm not familiar enough with that application, but it was a cause of concern for them that, in this application, which is also in Queens, they're being asked to provide refrigerated trash storage. Again, I'll note that the trash enclosure is very far from the zoning district boundary for the residential district, and refrigerated trash will be provided at this location. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of background as to our thinking and not, trying to come up with some sort of calculation that I'm really not sure is and based on Children of America's input is germane to the application.
Well,
I think those.
Before
Go
we
ahead.
go, I think with regards to the trash enclosure, this board has been very clear that trash enclosure would be required for any daycare or school operation within size, especially refrigerated trash enclosure. And I don't think we have made an exception. If we, the case before us, I think we have had so many issues on that. We probably didn't focus on that, but that doesn't mean that we will not be asking for it. There's still work to be done on that one. That one had lot more larger issues to deal with, and we were focusing on those. So let's keep that aside. But we have had cases where an analysis was done, and I think this was submitted by, I think the practice was first started by, I'm
So I
forgetting.
have an application from Jay Goldstein that was
Jay
provided to
Goldstein,
me by Tony. And that's what I mentioned is it's based on this Minnesota Pollution Control Agency study, which, I'm at a loss as to explain how that study is relevant to a New York City school. And I guess that's the confusion on my end.
Okay, I see Commissioner Otley Brown raising her hand. I'll let her speak.
It just seems to me that we're asking for the math about how much trash a student at your daycare center generates. And if the owners of Children of America could just do a mathematical calculation for us, and then you could make the argument afterwards whether or not you feel that the Minnesota study is the study that we should look to for guidance here. But without any numbers on your part, we don't really know what you're talking about. All you're saying is the Minnesota study is not what should be referenced here, but you're not giving us anything else. You're not saying it shouldn't be referenced here because they're saying a half a pound of trash per student, and in reality, Children of America has very little meals, for very little children, and so the amount of trash is only maybe a quarter of a pound. Like, you're not giving us any additional information to go on that we could then independently make a determination that, okay, Children of America probably doesn't need as large an enclosure as, I don't know, Bright Horizons or another daycare or school that's come before us. We need numbers. We need some kind of numerical analysis of the trash generated.
Right.
So I appreciate the point, and we can look at that a little bit more closely with Children of America and ask them to break down their analysis numerically.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So I guess if I could just take a step back, you know, I mentioned that, you know, the landscaping, you know, key is shown, and maybe this is a question for staff after this hearing. Is there something more that the board is looking for in terms of the keying between the site plans and the details shown on the schedule of plantings on P003B, or was this maybe something that was sort of a lesser concern to the concern regarding the future use of this planted area as a potentially as a driveway?
Well, I had difficulty opening the file just now, so now I was able to open it right now, so I'm looking at it. So just give me a second. So in your P003, you have indicated the kind of shrubberies and the various ground covers that you're proposing. And in P003A, you do not have the key.
Right, and I mentioned that, you know, we omitted the key from P003A. Would it be helpful to just add it?
I think so, because
okay.
Yeah, because P003 is too small. And so it would be good to carry that same legend.
That's fine. We're happy to do that.
Right.
And sorry for that created confusion there.
Right. And we want to make sure that not only it is not going to be used as a driveway, and you made a good point that it doesn't have a curb cut, so it has nowhere to go. But it also should not be used for parking or for storing of any vehicles or anything. It really then should be a landscape area, making sure that there's adequate buffer between the children, the classrooms, and they have the privacy.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand. I mean, there's a border of shrubs around a, you know, ground cover. I don't know that it's sort of invites any vehicular storage or use. It's just intended to be a low maintenance landscaped open area. I don't think there's any intention to use it for anything. It's a sort of an odd, not very wide space. So I think really the intention was to landscape it, make it sort of a, you know, a nice looking open space rather than any sort of dual purpose use, either for, I guess obviously not for vehicles, but not even for an outdoor area for the children, as they have a very large outdoor play area on the roof of the adjacent commercial building.
Okay.
Or the adjoined commercial building.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I'll just leave it at that. Then finally, I don't think we had anyone from. Sorry, I'll make one more comment. The environmental assessment statement was revised and submitted. It was submitted relatively recently. I will note that, and I think that in the comments of the review session, it was noted that essentially all of the other chapters in the EAS have been signed off on. The one open outstanding issue with respect to this application is obtaining DOT safety sign off, which is still pending. I would like to echo Eric Palatwick's comments from the prior hearing regarding Jericho. These are, I've had a lot of conversation and emails with BSA staff with respect to how DOT is reviewing this application as it relates to school safety. because it feels like we're in the middle of a very detailed seeker review. We, similar to the Jericho case that was just heard, are discussing a potential mitigation over a level of service analysis for this site. To take a step back, this is a site where a commercial use could be developed as of right today. A fast food restaurant, a Starbucks, etc. Something with, that would sort of have a much more drastic impact on the level of service of Cooper Avenue, which is already, experiencing relatively low levels of service. So because of the manner in which DOT reviews these 7319 cases, this daycare is showing a potential significant adverse impact relating to the level of service on Cooper Avenue. Our environmental consultant, also Philip Habib and Associates, has discussed potential mitigation with DOT, which is still under review. But it's an interesting position to be in with respect to an application or use that would ordinarily waive out of a level of service analysis because it's simply too small. It doesn't reach that type of analysis in an EAS, to now be thinking about mitigation and potential impacts as you would in a much more intense type of environmental assessment. So we will continue working with staff and with DOT, but I wanted to just raise the issue and say that we're similarly struggling with this, and for at least the past 8 months have been attempting to get it right with DOT, and we're dealing with the seeker unit because this is apparently too small to be dealing with the school safety unit. And really, it feels like we're in a very rigorous seeker review for this application. So in the same way that you advised the prior applicant to continue discussion with BSA staff, will do so. But I just wanted to put it on the record that this is something we're experiencing here.
Okay,
I think that's all I have.
Yeah, we hear you on that, and do work closely with our project manager and with Ms. Benke. It is a policy that DOT has raised. We don't know how they have come up with that policy and guideline, but that's what they're exercising it consistently across, not just for school, I think for many other uses also. So, but we can work with you, if it helps. I see Commissioner Oakley Brown, your hand is raised. Oh, I see.
That was a mistake.
Oh, okay, sorry. So should we go, any of the commissioners, do you have any questions? Okay, I'm hearing them shake, seeing them shake their head. Anybody from the public? Let's open it to the public now.
Okay, so the application we are currently discussing is 2019 15BZ 7940 Cooper Avenue, Queens.
And Tony and Vice Chair, I'll just note that another member of our team, Joseph McKenzie from Philip Habib and Associates, may be in the waiting room. 5765 are the last 4 digits of his telephone number. But I think we've really covered everything there. So just want to identify that he's the one in the waiting room.
Okay, thank you.
So while we're waiting, Madam Chair, do you want to ask for time frames? And
yeah, so I think the biggest issue here is the DOT sign off and revising the plans. How long will it take for you to revise the plans? Give us a calculation with regards to the trash enclosure, and DOT, I'm sure it's going to, you recently submitted the comments, so DOT will take at least another month, if not more.
Right, our understanding with respect to the DOT comments is that they're not expected until after July 24th, according to Ms. Benke. I believe I have that right, obviously correct me if I'm wrong. The changes to the plans, we can do almost immediately. So I think that the timing is just contingent on the DOT review. If we're able to come back at some point, in August, that would be great. I think we're on our maybe 4th or 5th hearing at this point. So I know that the applicant is anxious to move forward, if possible, but also understanding that we don't want to be in a position where we're at another hearing where we're not really talking about the major substantive question, which is whether or not we have DOT sign off.
Sure. Yes, you're absolutely right. I think let's move it to, let's try to find some date in August. By that time, hopefully DOT would have commented and you would have had a couple of rounds of discussions with DOT. And let's see where we go. But I think
that sounds great.
Yeah, I think the larger part of the DOT question and DOT's analysis, that's, it's a complete shift on their analysis process. It's not just for schools and daycares.
Sure.
So.
Okay, I don't think anybody's called in.
Excuse me, we had someone named Leo join us. Leo, could you please state your name and whether you're here for calendar number 2019-15 BZ?
Let me on. Do you hear me? Okay, I'm not sure I'm on. Am I on?
Yes.
Yeah, what case are you here for?
I don't have the BZ number on it. It's on East 23rd Street, 960.
Oh, that's a little later. You'll have to call back.
Oh, it just went automatically. I didn't realize that. I had it set. I figured you'll get me on when you're ready. Okay, fine.
Okay, please call back.
Okay, so we have no one who spoke from public. So let's get a time in August.
We'll see what the calendar allows.
Right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate the time. Thanks, everybody.
The next item is, I'm sorry. The next item is 2019-171 BZ, 1610 Eastchester Road, the Bronx.
Which one?
2019-171 BZ, 1610 Eastchester Road, the Bronx.
Oh, yes, sorry.
You let me in now?
Hello?
Yes, will you let me in now?
Are you a neighbor or?
Yeah, we're at 1615 Eastchester Road. We're across the street.
Okay.
Okay. So we haven't started the public hearing, taken comments from the public yet. First, we need the applicant to respond to our questions, and then we are going to open it up to public. So please wait in the waiting room. Is that the correct place to wait?
That's fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Waiting room, and then we'll admit you when it's time.
Okay, is this Elise or Eric now? Let me see.
Waiting room? Is that the correct place to wait?
Is that Elise?
Nope, it's Eric again.
Hey, okay.
It's everybody's lucky day. I get to see you and you get to see me.
Okay. You have a group of people joining you, or is just yourself?
I don't know. They're all scurrying around so fast after review session, but they should be joining us.
Eric, this is Andy Stewart from High Point. I'm on.
Good, good,
Andrew Valeri from Stonefield.
good. That should be, that's all we need. That's our crew.
Okay. So let me swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Yes.
Okay,
do.
so proceed, Mr. Palatwick.
All right. Again, how is everybody? It's nice to see everybody. Again, I'll comment in case you don't know from the applicant side. It's kind of hectic to have the review session and then have the hearing. It's very hard. It's like speed dating. It's very, very difficult. Everybody's trying very hard to make it productive, but it's really hard. There's text going around, there's calls going around. I don't know what other applicants have been speaking to you about, if anybody, but just so you know, I love the enthusiasm. But having said that, We did
Council,
go.
with all due respect, Council, we're doing the very best that we can.
You're doing
We've
great.
met-
You're
we-
doing
we-
great.
We've met
You're
with,
doing great. I'm not
Yeah,
complaining.
okay,
I'm just,
can we move
go
on?
on.
Move to
I'm
the
not,
side.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's hard. Having said that, we all had meetings in between this. There's been a lot of text, and you're doing great. I'm not complaining. I'm happy you're having hearings. We heard your comments. We heard everybody's comments, and we are taking it back to the drawing board, and we are going to incorporate or try to incorporate all of the comments we had. And I'm just simply telling you, that's what went on in the last half hour. A lot of people got on the phone. So we all understand the issues of the bus stop. Everybody understood the issues of what we're saying with the landscaping in the rear that the chair had. Everybody understood the garbage enclosure idea very well. Everybody understood the traffic, the reduction of the curb cut idea on Williamsbridge and consolidating maybe to just one curb cut away from the bus stop. We understood moving the canopy to the other side and the islands maybe to the other side of the site, moving the, so we understood everything you were all saying. We got it. And that's what I wanted to tell you. I don't know if you want to have a full hearing on it, but if you want to put that all on the record, but we'd like the opportunity to come back to you. We heard what you had to say and to switch it around and to try to incorporate some of your comments.
Yeah. And go back to the hearing, what we said again, use that to the first hearing and the second hearing, but the first hearing that we had and what we said this earlier today. Please listen to both of those comments when you prior to submitting the next document.
Yes, and we will.
Okay, Commissioner Sheta wants to speak.
Yeah, I just want to add to the list the luminous spread. We've issued a notice recently. Please take a look at it and consider that when preparing the luminous spread diagram.
Yeah, sure. We'll be right now. We're a little over 2, I think, on the on the Williamsbridge side. We'll correct that. We'll be at 0 in accordance with the memo.
And again, you have to treat that lot line as if a development, even though you may not have any plans for it, you need to ensure that that particular lot line has a fence or an open. Right.
It shouldn't have came to you with that originally. And to Commissioner Sheta's point, also the cars in the parking lot, the cars on the sidewalk are an issue, and we'll try to shoo them away. But it is we'd encourage some help in the enforcement because it is the surrounding neighborhood that's parking the cars there. Those are not our cars.
I'm trying to help you ahead because the notice says that if this is a new construction, you could submit something that's based on a numerical model. However, if we're granting something based on modeling, most likely it's gonna be like a short term, after which we're gonna ask you to take actual measurements and submit them to us. So we make sure that whatever is existing actually is identical to or close enough to the modeling based diagram. So when preparing the diagram, please not just make the numbers zeros. Run the model, run it well, based on good assumptions, and give us the numbers. And
yeah,
later on,
you've spawned a whole new industry. We have a whole industry of fast food and gas station electric lighting consultants that we're talking to right now that are going to create the memos going forward. There's a whole group of people who have actually anxious to create the reports the way you want it. They're going to make. They've already established the fee structure and everything. So we're going to do it. We've been talking to them. We understand what you want to see, and people are being hired, and the reports are going to be created just like you want to see them. Because everybody wants to get through the process as quick as possible because they're dying on the vine. Everybody, all these people. So we want to get through quick. We want to cooperate. We want to give you whatever you all want. To get it the right way, that's a good plan that everybody in the neighborhood is comfortable with. And to that effect, I think we'll come back to you with the plan I think that you're going to like, and we'll include everybody's ideas that you're saying. We're not disputing any of them.
Ms. Benke had her hands up. Ms. Benke?
Yeah, so currently DOT is reviewing the current plan. So we will reach out to them and tell them there's going to be revisions. I'm just not sure at what point as soon as the plan's ready, we could resubmit them to DOT. Does that sound like a
Yeah, that
good
sounds
idea?
perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds great. And we'll do that in the next couple of weeks. We'll change the plan around and get it back.
And we'll see if they had come up with any comments yet that might be applicable. If not,
We're
then-
not disputing the DOT methodology on this site at all.
Okay.
Right. I think that would be very helpful. If there is any DOT feedback on it, please do relate those to the applicant that can be, so that can be incorporated in the revised plan. Thank you,
Okay.
Ms. Bank.
Thanks.
Okay, do we have, we do know somebody's waiting at the waiting room to speak. Are there any comments from any of the other commissioners before I go to the public? Are there any comments from the commissioners? Okay, all right, so let's go to the public.
Miss Kellner, I think her name is.
Who? Miss?
Kellner, I think her name was.
Okay.
But Tony, could you say the calendar number and everything again for?
I'm
other-
sorry. Sure. It's 2019-171 BZ 1610 Eastchester Road, the Bronx. This is the case we are currently on. If you wish to call in, you have the Zoom meeting ID number and telephone number is on the screen right now, 646-558-8656. Zoom meeting ID number is 961-0145-5632. Ms. Kellner, you can call back in?
I'm on Zoom. Is that okay?
Fine, absolutely fine.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We waited all afternoon. We appreciate being heard. So thank you, Commissioner Shepetta was the only one who addressed our specific concerns. As we told you on March 24th, we own 1615 Eastchester Road across the street from this proposed proposal at 1610. There is a gas station already on the corner of Williamsbridge Road and Eastchester Road. So that, to us, resolves the problem of gas stations in the neighborhood. Regarding the traffic, regarding the movement of pedestrian as well as cars and buses, I grew up in the neighborhood. I've owned the property. My grandparents owned the properties in 1952. So I think I know the neighborhood. If you go from Williamsbridge Road and go straight up Eastchester Road, all the way to Pelham Parkway, you will see Montefiore, Einstein, Jacoby, clinics, doctor's offices, all the way up and down. The entire area is so heavily trafficked already. It's very difficult for people who are going to doctor's appointments to get their time in. There's no parking anywhere. At the other end of Jarrett, which goes around our building, there's a private parking for the public, but beyond that, there's virtually no parking in the entire neighborhood. Our tenants run a dialysis hospital. The patients are very, very sick people. They need dialysis 3 times a week. So we offer the neighborhood, if you want to call it essential, it's life-giving service. The last thing we need is increased traffic, increased debris, increased environmental issues in the neighborhood. There's McDonald's on Williamsbridge Road, right across from the present gas station on our end of the street. So we see no reason to add another gas station, let alone a convenience store, which is only going to make more debris. I just paid $555 to our roofer to clean our drains because people are drinking sodas, buying candy. They throw it in our drains. I have to have them cleaned at least 4 times a year. We just don't see any reason for this proposal, frankly.
Okay, thank
Thank
so
you.
thank you, madam. I think based on your comment, we have asked DOT to review this.
Yeah, excuse me, we were waiting to hear from the official DOT review, and I know that everything is, you know, in New York right now. The other thing is, because of that, I can't imagine that DOT can give us a fair assessment until New York is up and running at its usual pace. People are not going to the doctor. People are not going in for their tests. They're not doing elective surgeries because people are hesitant to go to a hospital right now. And I know we're all in the same situation. So I can't imagine the DOT would have a fair assessment of the regular amount of traffic on Williamsbridge and Eastchester.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments. Any other speakers? From
Commissioner Sheta has his hand up.
Nobody else has called in.
Okay, Commissioner Sheta, you have your hands up.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to ask the member of the public, do you have any other concerns other than the traffic?
Well, of course.
Like the gas station being attractive to traffic? Any other concerns?
Yes, of course we do. As I said, my tenants run a hospital for people who are very, very ill. And they have to go 3 times a week for dialysis. So they are not ambulatory. They come down Jarrett and the vans drop them off and they go up the entry into the building. But if they are still ambulatory, they take public transportation. And the last thing we need is more traffic. These people have to come 3 times a week for their treatments. Otherwise, they die. It's not complicated.
So it's just traffic. Thank you.
Well, it's traffic and it's quality of life, sir.
And waste, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and debris.
Yes, the general debris in the neighborhood. Tenants are very good about sweeping and keeping the sidewalks absolutely impeccably clean. Because once again, with people in wheelchairs and people with limited ambulation, we have to be exceedingly careful. We do our very best to keep it absolutely clean. In the winter, we don't even have a drop of ice on those sidewalks. Absolutely take care of it constantly. We need to. It's essential. We don't need more pedestrian traffic. We don't need more cars. There's buses up and down Eastchester Road, just like there's buses up and down Williamsbridge Road. So moving the way you want to change the physical aspect of this proposal to us makes no difference whatsoever.
Mr. Shibata, do you have any comments? Or?
No, I was just going to ask Council if he would respond in writing to the concerns of the member of the community, Ms. Keller.
Yeah.
In writing, I think it'd be best.
I'd be happy to, but if we could just point out, because I think there's some salient points, and listen, I respect the fact he's saving lives. She mentioned a couple of times that people need to get to her site. They're dying. It needs free obstruction of the sidewalk. But just so I could state my client's position, because they are the property owner of my piece, just so I make sure, I'm going to turn the camera around. I think this is the piece that's hers, that we're talking about, that she just said is impeccably maintained, the sidewalks and all that. But more importantly, what we're all forgetting about, as the Bing pictures show, that's the site. I don't know, can everybody see the Hess signs there? That you see the gas pumps? I don't know if everybody can see that. And then let's just scroll around so we could all see what we're talking about. There's the McDonald's, and there's the British Petroleum Station over there. And there's a bunch of local retail. That's the intersection. That's what was there. Now, I'm not saying that a gas station is necessarily, what everybody might want, but that site has historically been improved upon with an automotive service station. It's derelict right now. We just heard testimony from the BSA's own commissioners that people are parking on the sidewalk, obstructing the very sidewalks that we're trying to keep clean. It's not our clients. It's not our guys. We've tried to shoo them away. My guy just texted me that he's had his staff out there trying to shoo the automotive body guys that are parking their cars on the sidewalk out. we're trying our best. So I want to let the owner of the business across the street know we're doing our best we can. If you look at our sidewalks, there's been patching done on the sidewalks, and I'm looking at the thing shot right now. When it was in operation, it was clean and free. So we will clean and free of breaks and stuff, but we will address it. But our concerns, but we want to be good neighbors to you, and we don't want to disrupt your operations in any way, shape, or form. So we want to let you know that, and that I think the HES that was there shows that a gas station can operate at the site. But we will show you, and we will respond in writing.
Okay. Thank you. Any other members from the public that want to speak? Okay. So, Mr. Palatwick, you have heard a lot of comments. Please listen to our comments from the morning, from the review session, and also from last week, and from what you're hearing from public, and do respond it in writing, and it should be reflected in the plans convincingly enough to address those concerns.
And we'll give you everything that you wanted to, that you rightfully pointed out makes for a better design. We concur with almost all of the comments, so we will take those tips into consideration, and you'll see that reflected in our next design.
Okay. And meantime, try to keep the site clean for your neighbors. Please do tell your owner to keep the site clean.
Yes, they will. It's Bill Wolf Petroleum. They're quite active in New York City. They're one of they operate quite a few automotive service stations. They have a whole service team that goes out. So they do try to shoo the cars off of the property as much as they can. But those cars are parked on city-owned property, and we don't have the right to tow them off of the sidewalks that they're obstructing. That's only,
I would notify the
only
community board, and or alert the fire department, police department, that there are vehicles that are parked on the sidewalk.
We will. So they could start. We'll start doing that. Get some enforcement. Thank you very much, all, for your time. We want to make sure.
May I ask one more thing? I have one more thing. We're still waiting for the official DOT assessment. That's what we asked for on March 24th, and we understand that the city is not completely up to its normal patterns yet, and that's why we still are not satisfied.
Okay, Ms. Prenga, you wanted to say something?
Hi, I sent you the traffic study that the applicant had submitted. Did you receive that?
Yes, we did, but those are not official DOTs.
So
correct.
This is how,
if I misunderstood, I apologize, but the way I read that, it looks like the applicant did that study.
Right.
Sure,
So,
I can explain if you want.
Right.
Vice Chair.
Yes, please do.
So we were waiting for the revised plan to send to DOT because we didn't want to send them an old plan that was out of date. So the plans you saw with the new traffic study is what we just sent to DOT, and they're currently reviewing. So they haven't, they are taking their allowed time to comment. However, now the plan's going to be revised again. So this might, we won't get official comments until the plan's in a position that is consistent with what we heard today, because we don't want DOT to be commenting on an old plan.
Okay, so that means that for our purposes, our objection as of March 24th still remains pending.
So the way it works is that we have to, whatever plan we are reviewing, we run it, we give it to DOT.
Correct.
And the traffic analysis has to be submitted by the applicant. And those, and based on certain DOT standards and DOT requirements. So there's no deviation on those analyses. So based on that, the applicant provides the information along with the plan, and then DOT reviews it. Until and unless we have an approval from DOT, this application is open. We will not be, we will not sign it. So we need the DOT approval in order for us to approve it. So we are far from it. We are right at the beginning where the applicant has not even put together a plan that we are not satisfied with, let alone DOT.
Okay, so we're all on the same page.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
And your comments are very helpful, very informative. We are keeping those in mind. So if you don't see us respond to it, because we are at a very nascent stage on this pace.
Okay, well, I just keep checking your website.
Absolutely do.
For dates for the hearings. That's the only thing I do, so.
Right, and I think you're in touch with our project manager with regards to the status. Please continue to do so that they can inform you of any of the latest submissions. And Mr. Palatwick, do keep her in the loop in your submissions, and so do the project manager.
We will.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, and
thank you very
if you
much.
can reach out to us whenever you want, and I'll always tell you what's going on. If you want to know what's happening, you can get. We'll always let you know.
We appreciate it. We just want to make sure that we're heard. That's all.
All right.
Thank
We'll
you
share
very much
we'll share
for
what we're
your
doing. With you.
participation in the public hearing. It is much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's anybody else.
Do we have anybody else?
No, I put it up for the next case to be called.
Okay.
Okay. How much time, Mr. Palatwick? Madam Chair, you want to ask how much time does it need?
How much time would you need?
We could submit in 30 days would be good for us.
You might need a little longer than that.
I think you will need longer than that, given all the questions that are being raised. The plan needs to be revised. You have to change the statement of facts. You need to change.
But they're pretty quick. Chris, all High Point does is design gas stations. That's all they do. So we would have been almost ready to bring it in now if we didn't have to redesign everything. But whatever pleases the board, though, we're not rushing.
Okay.
Okay, we'll find a time that fits in our calendar, and Ms. Matthias and staff will work with you on the scheduled date.
Great. Thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, the next application is new case 2019-261BZ, 960 East 23rd Street, Brooklyn. It's the office of Lyra Altman.
Miss
Good afternoon.
Your name.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you're by yourself, Miss Altman, or you have
No,
a
we
number?
should have Leo Spira as well.
Do you have a number for him, or?
I do. 1660 should be the last 4 digits. He's the Leo that called down too early before. And I already texted him that he should be calling in. Here, I'll call him right now. If he doesn't answer, we'll just proceed.
Sorry.
Leo, get on Zoom. Bye. All right, so he's logging on. In the meantime, I suppose we should wait for him to.
Yes, because I have to swear you in.
All right. This is the only problem with the YouTube delay. Do you see him, Tony?
I don't see.
Nope.
Do you want to proceed without him right now? Because I'm not sure if you're going to need to hear from him. I just have him logging on just in case.
Yes. Let's
Okay.
proceed, and then we can swear him in when he joins again.
Perfect.
Okay, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Of course.
Please proceed.
Okay. Good afternoon, Lyra Altman from the office of Lyra Altman. We listened to your executive session. We heard your comments. Most importantly, we are clearly going to be reassessing this application in light of those comments. With respect to the construction that is currently going on at the site, one of the things we will be changing, as I'm sure you mentioned, or I know you mentioned, is that the process of construction is now almost complete. We are 4 weeks away from applying for sign-off Had it not been for COVID, we would have already had our sign off. We're just a little behind due to the construction problems. But when we come back for the next hearing, our goal is that what we will have done is to have removed that alteration set from the application, modified the existing set so that it reflects what will currently be on the site, and we will revise our statement accordingly, so that the application will be a more typical application with the existing building reflecting what is on the site with no construction being undergoing at that moment. Okay.
Okay.
There was also a request for an aerial view and a streetscape. I believe that was Commissioner Shabeta. We would be more than happy to provide you the aerial view. With respect to the streetscape, we've already given you a frontage study. Would you like a streetscape from the architect? Is that what you're looking for?
Well, generally your streetscapes are much longer. I only saw about 4 houses in that.
Right, it depends on the architect. If you'd like more on there, we'll be happy to put more on there.
I just want to see it in relation to the property surrounding it, so I get a better understanding of what the final product will look like.
Okay, we'll be glad to do that.
Thank you.
I'm going to make a note to add to the architect's streetscape. And other than that, I've already spoken with the client. We're going to be reassessing the floor area, the rear yard, the heights, all of the things that were mentioned in your executive session. And we are going to be revising this application. So I'm not sure there's much else to say because we're going to revise the application to reflect your comments.
Okay. And as you know, you have been before this board with these enlargements, you know our concerns, and you know how much, especially with regards to lot mergers and how the expansion is happening, we do take a lot more closer look in terms of the neighborhood context. So do be mindful of that in your design and how the bulk is being moved around on the site.
Of course, we will consider everything that the board mentioned, as I said, and all that we know about past applications as well.
Yes. Okay. Commissioner Sheta.
Can we get some photos for the construction status as well?
Of course,
With
I've
the next submission.
obtained construction photos as recently as today, but I'm not sure that that's exactly what you're going to need. What we'll do is we will submit them to you for the next submission, and we'll show you that it's been completed at that point. I think that's exactly what you need, not partial construction.
Yeah, like a week before the hearing, you could even send them like separate. You don't have to submit them with the submission like 20 days before, but you could like a week before the hearing, you could have somebody take some pictures and send them to us. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'll speak to the contractor. They already sent me some this morning just to make sure that I was aware of exactly what was happening on site, and we will do that again.
Thank you.
Okay. Whose phone is that?
That's my phone. I apologize. They keep calling. Let me. It's the architect keeps calling, but we don't need him, so I'm ignoring him.
Okay.
So I can give you a
All right. Are there any comments from the other commissioners? Okay, let's go to the public comment. Do we have anybody? And
Sure,
while
this
we are
is-
waiting for the, sorry, go ahead.
2019-261 BZ, 960 East 23rd Street, Brooklyn.
I will tell you, the architect is texting me. He's having trouble connecting.
Okay. Do you don't need the architect, right?
I don't. Unless you'd like to ask him something. I think we've got this under control at the moment.
Yeah.
How much
And
time?
How much time do you think you would need? You're starting from scratch.
Well, and we need to finish the construction, which is 4 weeks to apply for the sign off. So if we can have 8 or 9 weeks, we'd appreciate that. I wouldn't want to have less than that, given the fact that we want to finish the construction and revise the application accordingly. And we will revise the proposal while the construction is being completed.
Okay. You said you were 4 weeks away from a sign off.
4 weeks away from completing construction. They think they're about 6 weeks away from sign off.
And do provide the construction of not only just exterior, also interior.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Exterior and interior photos.
Exterior and interior photos. We can do that.
Okay.
I've already told the board you can't get on. It's okay, Leo. I'll call you after.
Okay,
I'll call you after. We're in the middle of the hearing.
no, that's called in.
Okay. All right. I think we waited for 5 minutes. Nobody's appeared to speak. Okay, so we will schedule a time. You said 8 to 9 weeks, which
I appreciate that. And that's for the hearing, not for submission.
Right. Is that doable?
We believe it is, yes, because we've been told we're 4 weeks away from being complete with the construction, and that's without any rushing on the job. That's normal time frame. They think 2 weeks for sign off after that.
Okay, all right. Just
Okay.
make sure it's all thorough.
Okay. Next item, may I move on, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
2019-191 BZ, 1485 East 21st Street, Brooklyn. This is also Ms. Altman.
Hello again. I do have my architect logging in as well, or zooming in. And you should see it come up. Last 4 digits are 6575. I know I want him to address one issue with you, so I'm hoping he'll log on quickly.
Do we have?
He said it's telling him the meeting is not started.
You didn't have any difficulty, right?
I had no difficulty getting through.
Does he have the right meeting number?
I gave him the calendar number, and that's where I got the information as well. So he should have it. I'm going to have him just dial in. 646-558-8656. I just gave him a call-in number.
Okay.
Tony, I'm hoping that'll work better. Because both my architects said they were having trouble getting through.
All right, we'll look into that.
Do you want to swear me in separately? I'll address the one thing I need to address with you and then let.
Yes, let's do that.
Yes.
Is that okay, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond to honestly to board member questions?
Of course. Once again, Lyra Altman from the Office of Lyra Altman. We did hear your comments. With respect to the rear yard study, the reason we did not submit it, I know Council, you had asked why one wasn't submitted with this application. The proposal into the rear yard is only 3 feet in depth, 16 feet 6 inches in width, and it's 1 story. So we didn't feel that a rear yard study was necessary. But if that is something that the commissioners feel is necessary, we of course could provide one. It was only because it was such a small modification that we didn't feel the board would typically request that.
And this rear yard is only on the first floor.
That is correct.
I think this was asked of Chair. I think that Chair Perlmutter asked this question.
I didn't recall hearing that in your comments from her, but I know that Council brought that up.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yes, Council did bring that up.
It's actually, sorry, I misspoke. It's 5 feet deep by 16.6, but the rear yard there is 27 feet because the most of the building is actually 32 feet, not 30. But the protrusion into the required rear yard is 3 feet, I should say.
Right. This is more for consistent of our file. I mean, we generally ask for this. So if it's something that you can provide, I understand the nature of this is very small. It is a 5 foot by 16 foot intrusion, and that too for a very small portion on the first floor. It's almost like having a little bit of a bay window.
Right, and only 3 feet of it is actually in the required rear yard. 2 feet of it is permitted.
Okay. I would be okay without it because of the fact that this is just a very small amount. But again, just for the consistency and completeness of the file, if you can just do a very quick analysis.
Okay, so we will provide one for your board.
Okay.
The next question that I was hoping the architect would be able to log on, he's telling me he's having trouble. You know what, I'm going to try something. If it's okay with you, I will try to call him over and put him on speaker.
You have reached the voicemail.
Trying to see if I can get him. He's probably trying to dial into you right now.
Hi there.
Beryl, I have you on speaker with the board.
Okay, I realize I have not the right number. Okay, you want me to log in? You want me to call him?
Would you prefer he logs in, or would you prefer that he does it over speaker on my phone? What is better for the board?
I think at this point, the speaker seems to be working. Let's just do that.
Okay.
Ms. Matthias, why don't you swear him in? And
Okay, I'm going to swear the architect in. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and respond honestly to board member questions?
Beryl, did you hear that?
Yes, a little hard to hear. Should I call in?
Hold on. I'm going to turn the volume up further on my computer so you can really hear it. Tony, I apologize. Can you try it again?
Okay, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes.
Okay, fine, proceed.
Okay.
You want to respond to a question, Madam Chairhead?
There was a question regarding the construction, and that's the one I'd like you to please address.
Okay, so I'm sorry that I joined a little late, but let me, if I missed something, please, chime in and let me know. Okay, so basically what we did, we solved for this alteration, the whole walk to the building, everything as of right. And at some point, the client that approached me and decided that he wants to go for the variance and explore that option, which we did. And what I want to stress, and which we can see in the application, is that everything we sort of had filed for initially, which the scope of, let's go from ground up, from the cellar to first, will remain intact based on the alteration. And the second floor is what we are going for. Second attic is what we're asking the BSA for the special, for the variance. Now, in terms of what's existing and proposed, looking at the building, we have the front, right, and most of the rear portion is to remain existing. And what we're asking for is the left side to extend the left side, horizontal enlargement on the existing left portion of the building.
okay.
Clarify?
Sorry. Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, so basically you're saying that there's going to be no change to the cellar and first floor, which is actually what's reflected in your existing plans right now. And the only change would be to the second floor, that you're going to fill it out. And since the second floor was all new anyway, there's going to be no change to the amount of retained walls.
Let me elaborate again. The existing building right now, the way it stands, we are blowing out the left wall, the entire left wall. I'm elaborating on the comment, and I'm sorry if I don't recall who it was, but there was a comment that someone had visited the site, and then there was sort of the as-built diagram at the site. Over there, it's showing the extension to the right, to the left side, which we got as of right. But in terms of what's existing versus proposed in the BSA submission, we are removing that left wall. In other words, that will not remain the left portion of the building.
So, okay, I see. I'm looking at the plans. So that's not going to be disturbed anyway. It's going to remain the same regardless. Meaning your plans to remove it will remain the same, rather.
Yes.
The left wall, because we got that under the as of right approval.
Okay.
Only the left wall, though. The other wall, the only things that are being disturbed are the left wall, that rear bump out that we talked about earlier, and I believe the front vestibule, correct?
That is correct. That small portion, the small little indent in the front.
That's all that's being disturbed on the first floor.
That is correct. Looking at the picture, yes.
Okay. So those are the ones that are being built currently under the as of right, and that will stay. And what you're proposing is just an addition. I think that's why when I looked at the proposed plan, it was a little confusing to understand what you meant. So the hatched area on the first floor is already being built under the as of right. On P3.
On the left side, not in the back.
On the left side, on the left side.
The piece in the back is not being built yet because it is a 27-foot rear yard. So we cannot build that until we get the SA approval.
Understood. Okay. But the one on the left-hand side is being built as of right.
Correct.
So I think that maybe similar comments to the last one, in that sense that we need to be very careful as to what plan we are reviewing and what is the baseline. If your baseline is going to be the as of right, which is the wall that is going to be on the left hand, has that construction already taken place or that is going to start?
It has stopped. He was mid-construction when he decided to go forward for the special permit. When he did that, he stopped the construction. So we're basing the existing off of what was existing prior to the DOB application that was as of right. So that left wall, as you see, is being considered proposed.
Okay, all right. That is much clearer. Got it.
So, because it is not a finished space, we cannot consider existing.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
If you can clarify that in your next submission.
We'd be glad to.
Okay.
Was that for me? I didn't hear that.
No, that was for me. I'll clarify it in my submission.
Commissioner Otley Brown, you had your hands up.
Right. No, that's basically what I was asking, was what portion of that is going to be the basis for the new application? And you're saying everything that was built so far should be considered part of the proposed plans.
Correct.
Not part of the existing plans.
Correct. Because
okay.
Need construction.
Okay.
Whatever was built, so just to clarify this for a second, whatever was built, whatever's on site is still considered proposed. Just like the original application is still considered proposed in BSA since it's not complete and signed off. So we're treating it the same way.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from any of the commissioners? Okay, let's go to the public. If there's anybody who wants to speak from public, please dial in.
This is 2019-191BZ, 1485 East 21st Street, Brooklyn.
How much time, Ms. Altman, would you need to?
It takes about 2 weeks to get a rear yard study.
Okay.
Obviously, I can write the letter today. That's not a problem. It's the rear yard study that will take time.
Okay. And also responding to the clarification with regards to what is being considered as part of as of right.
Right. That's the letter that I have to write. So.
Okay.
That I can do immediately.
Okay. I guess nobody has dialed in yet.
Nobody has called in.
Okay, or called in. Okay. So any other questions from anybody else? All right, so let's set I think we have passed the 5-minute point.
So it's over 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Oh, we waited over 2 minutes.
Oh, over 2 minutes?
Yeah, because I have a timer.
All right. Okay, good. It felt like 5 minutes. So So let's set a date.
We can't set a date. We'll contact the applicant with a hearing date.
Right, that's what I meant. Thank you.
Okay, so are we done? Madam Chair, are we finished?
Yeah, we are finished.
Okay, so this concludes the public hearing for July 14th, 2 p.m. session.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.